It's time now for Quick Take by the Numbers, where we give you the numbers that tell the story. This morning's number is a range. It's 230 to 260 million. That's the number of subscribers that Disney expects to have for Disney Plus by the year 2024. That's about triple the roughly 87 million subscribers that the streaming service has right now, which, of course, in itself is a really remarkable feat for a service that's barely a year old. After all, when Disney Plus went live back in 2019, Disney said it had a goal of 60 to 90 million subscribers, and that was by the year 2024. So it reached this 5-year goal, the lower end of it at least, in just 11 months. Now, Netflix is, of course, the dominant player worldwide when it comes to streaming. It has 195 million subscribers around the world, but Netflix has been at this for years longer than Disney. Now, Disney's certainly stepping up its streaming game. It announced ambitious new lineup that includes lots of new content with hopes that an onslaught of new programming from Pixar, Marvel, and of course Star Wars will give Netflix a run for its money. Subscribers are thrilled, and look, so are the markets. Joining me now is Bloomberg's markets reporter, Katie Greifeld. Katie, it's great to see you this morning. Give us an overview of the main announcements that Disney made yesterday and how you're seeing investors react.
Well, in terms of what caught investors' eye, it was those numbers you highlighted, that the fact that Disney Plus, at least, is now on a sort of Netflix-like trajectory. For context, Netflix currently has about 200 million subscribers, but its growth is slowing. So if Disney Plus was able to reach about 260 million by 2024, that could be a serious cue. And you're seeing that play out in the markets. Trading isn't open yet, but before the bell, we see Disney shares, that is, they're up over 8%, close to 9% in early trading, and they're set to open at a record. So clearly, the markets are taking this as very good news for the trajectory of Disney Plus.
They are, and if we look at Disney sort of in this vacuum here of just its own performance, it seems really good to be hearing that a company that has faced struggles with parks around the world closed, blockbuster movies that haven't been able to have any audiences because theaters around the world are closed. It sounds like pretty good news, but at the same time, Disney's still lagging the broader market, right?
That's exactly right. It's up about 7% year to date. And when you look at the S&P 500, for example, it's up about 13 to 14% year to date. But that streaming service, like you mentioned, it's really the shining star for Disney. It's helped shares just about double since March's low, just the strength of that streaming service. So we'll see, especially with shares poised right now to get another bump of about 8.5% to 9%. That could place it ahead of the broader market. So it could go from lagging to actually outperforming.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this slate of announcements yesterday. I mean, this list is huge. I can't even read the whole thing. We'd run out of time. 10 Star Wars series spinoffs and 10 Marvel series that will debut on Disney Plus. And over the next few years, Disney's also planning to premiere directly on Disney Plus, not just Star Wars and Marvel series, but also 15 live-action Pixar and animated series, and also 15 live-action Pixar and animated movies. Remember, Disney has ABC, Disney has ESPN, Disney has theme parks around the world, Disney operates cruise ships, Disney relies on movie theaters for distribution of its huge titles. What is investor enthusiasm telling you about Disney's announcements yesterday and the way that the company has shifted its thinking when it comes to how it looks at the future?
Well, it clearly shows that Disney is trying to target sort of at-home entertainment versus those movie theaters and those theme parks, like you mentioned, which obviously have had a very rough go of it. And like you mentioned, it's an ambitious lineup that they announced yesterday, but it's being very well received by investors. You know, Disney Plus has sort of been able to capture magic by sort of playing on a lot of its subscribers' nostalgic feelings towards its classic lineup, but it is trying to pursue its own original content and sort of go after that Netflix. And given that Disney is a huge company, the company overall has struggled a bit this year, as most live entertainment-based companies have. But the fact that its streaming service is so strong and it does have this ambitious lineup, it's being met very favorably in the markets, at least at this moment.
And one thing we should note, it wasn't all about streaming yesterday and staying at home. The company also keeping its biggest releases on track for theatrical release. Black Widow, Luca, the Lion King prequel. That's, I guess, where we are now, a prequel to Lion King. And of course, remember, Warner Media last week announced that in 2021, pretty much everything was going to streaming rather than to theaters first, sort of at the same time. That was a big shift there. Do you think investors right now are optimistic that there will be, at least in the middle of the year, some sort of return to normalcy because Disney's signaling that's how they're thinking?
If you look at the broader market, not just at sort of the entertainment companies, you do see that optimism percolating in markets just by the fact alone that you're seeing airlines, cruise companies, things that need in-person human interaction have been rebounding since the first Pfizer's vaccine announcement on November 9th. Those kind of companies have done really well. So this Disney news, on top of already that optimism that was in place in the markets, you do see investors are looking ahead to 6 months, 9 months from now, when maybe we're in a bit more of a normal environment.
Bloomberg's Katie Greifeld, thanks for breaking down everything at Disney, talking about how investors are reacting. Have a great weekend, and thanks.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.